Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay at home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. What? Are
I said you actually did it.
did you just get in the middle of my intro? Oh, this is gonna be a day right now, I can tell you.
Well, I didn't think you were actually going to press record because
You
let y'all know, the Zoom call came up, right? And I got to turn my camera on every time because Brock has it set up to annoy me on purpose. Anyway, so I got to turn my camera on. And as soon as I get on, I'm like, all right, let's go. And he started recording. I'm like, man, I got food in my mouth. I love it, though. I love it
Hey.
because this is the raw,
we shooting from the hip today.
hmm
For real. It's all good. It kind of, it works.
hmm Yeah, because this is a parenting show, and there's nothing that I can imagine that would describe parenting more than unprepared. Just raw, like I don't know what we're doing, but we're gonna do something, right?
Or saying something to your kids but not expecting them to do it immediately and then
Right.
being shocked like this.
Wait, what do you? Oh, you did it. Oh, okay. I don't know what to do now. I thought we'd have another like 3 hours of you looking for your other shoe.
You said go.
Yeah.
Kid starts to walk across the street. You're like, wait a minute. I didn't mean now.
I was like, right now. I mean, we're getting there. We're building it up. We're building up to it.
That's Hey, so of course, I think that any of us that spend time just, with a few minutes to ourselves, maybe we get on TikTok or Instagram or even Facebook and like scroll through reels and look at different things. So one of the ones that I saw recently, well, two things. One, joke of the day. Where does 007 invest his money?
Where?
The bond market.
Yeah.
Ba-dun-tsh.
Awful. Awful.
It's all good. Yeah, it's awful like a dry martini.
Right? Chicken, not stirred, money penny.
Chicken nuts. Exactly. And the other one is name a fictional character whom's death you have not gotten over yet.
Oh, Artax.
Well done. You just
And
went straight
also-
to childhood trauma.
And Bing Bong. Oh my God, Bing Bong. Oh my God. You talk about trauma. Oh my God. There's like-
Artak and Bing Bong. Oh my
there's-
goodness. Yeah.
There's nothing more sacrificial than Bing Bong. He is like your best friend, and not only your best friend, but he exists because you exist. Literally, you created him. And at the end of it, he's like, you go, you keep Bing Bong, Bing Bong, Bing Bong. And he jumps out, and I'm like, no. Yeah.
The death of your imaginary
Oh, it
friend.
was- right. Yeah. Because he's not only just his death, he gives his life so Joy lives, can make it to the top, and so that they can help, their
Right.
real person. And I'm just like, oh my God, Bing Bong. Every time it comes on, okay, you want to watch Inside Out? I'm like, I love this movie. This is a great movie, but no.
I will just say that
Skip a scene.
those who write cartoons that both adults and children can watch and be traumatically impacted or even emotionally impacted by are pure genius.
Or just mad, insane people that don't see the world normally.
Yeah. I mean, you
but-
think about it, you're like, oh well, I want to we need to figure out how to get these parents to, spend their money and bring their kids or whatever it is, and then people create stuff like Inside Out or Bluey.
Mhm.
which I don't know about you, but I would say that the majority of parents, your kids are a little bit older, but they probably didn't get into Bluey. But for me, I've been known to just be watching Bluey and be like, "What am I doing? Oh my goodness, my kids aren't even here."
Well, Bluey's an adult show. Come on. It's good for
Right.
kids too, but it's definitely for grown-ups. It's definitely
Oh,
for
yeah.
parents. There's
Yeah.
way too much in there, and there's just so much relatable stuff. The one of the first things I ever saw from Bluey was the picture of the back of his van, where they'd gotten the car seats out, and it's just snacks. It's just so many broken pieces of snacks and cups and toys, and just it looks like a garbage dump on
Mm.
his seat. And I'm like, yeah, that was me
Oh,
every single time.
yeah. Speaking of which, the episode that where they go to the dump, I don't know if you've
I haven't
seen this
seen
or not.
that one, but I heard about it.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so they go to the dump and they have different things and like there's recyclables that they're taking there, whatever, and there ends up being like kids' artwork in there.
No. Oh. Oh
Like,
no.
and the kids see it. They're like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And it's like, "Oh, you done messed up."
Don't know how that happened. I think grandma did it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's a very interesting scene because as parents, we all definitely are like, "Hey, that's great." And then let it
Mhm.
sit for a little bit and be like, "Oh, yep, it disappeared."
Well,
Oof.
Marcus was the first one that figured it out because he came up to me and he gave me some stuff from school. And it was second grade. All right. So he was not
Uh-huh.
that far along. And he hands it to me. I'm like, oh, these are great. This is great. And I'm setting them in two different piles because one of the piles is stuff that I do want to keep, and I keep a
Sure.
box for each of the kids so that, when you're in your 30s, 40s, even 50s, I still have stuff that I wrote and drew when I was in, elementary school,
Right.
and it's awful and it's exactly what you'd expect it was, but I love it because it's such a nostalgic thing. And so I'm putting this aside, and I'm and like, just like, there was 10 sheets of paper and five of them were just scribbled. It was just a scribble, there's nothing on it. So I'm putting those aside, and Marcus looks at me and he said, Dad, I know that you throw all that stuff away. I know you try to hide it from me, but I looked in the trash can yesterday and I saw that you put a couple of the, like, the school, like the teacher papers, what we call them, stuff that's basically the teacher's thing, just a couple of the teacher papers on top of it, and then just smushed it all down so I wouldn't see it. But and I am just like, well, yep, you're right. That's exactly what I do. There are things that we really want to keep for a very long time, and there are things that are just momentary and great, like, and beautiful, like a sunrise, right? It's beautiful, but you don't keep it. You don't try to keep it sunrise all day long. You let that go. And he was not having it, and I am just scrambling, and I'm so glad that none of my older kids were around at that moment because they would have looked at me and gone, "Wow, Dad, you're awful. You're just a storytelling liar. Why would you try to put poetic language? The fact that you throw away our gifts." Yeah. Oops.
Oh well, that's yeah. Otherwise, can you imagine our houses? We'd all look like hoarders. I mean, for
Oh,
real,
yeah.
the amount of
When
things that
we
get scribbled.
hmm and send them to grandma. That's a great answer. If you only have one or two kids, especially, grandma would love this. We got to put it in an envelope. We can send it or give it to grandma, and then grandma can throw it away, and that's fine because grandma can get away with it. Because he's grandma. Grandpa can be like, oh, kid, I didn't like that scribble. I don't think we need to put that up on the fridge. We're just going to get rid of that one. And the little kids will be like, oh, okay. Cookie? Yeah, get away with it. I'm the taskmaster. I'm the bad guy.
Of course, yeah. That's how it works, man. That's how it works. Oh goodness. So yeah, that's been basically what was on my mind a little bit.
hmm Yeah. And
Oh,
I do love, I haven't watched enough Bluey, I'll admit. But when it comes on, I love it. I love the song. I love every bit of it. And it's just like, this is a show that I feel like is kind of a sign of the times, where we are culturally as parents, and almost like globally too, as parents, is what we're expecting out of our kid shows. And there are definitely still kid shows that are just absolutely just fart jokes and butts all day, and that's it. And that's as funny as they get. And it's just garbage TV for your child. But we've moved to a point where we're like, okay, what is this gonna? Not only what is this gonna teach my kid, which shows like I don't know if you remember Little Einsteins. Um, it's
I do
back
remember it,
probably
but
15 years at
I
least,
didn't
but
get into that. Yeah.
it was one of those like, well, we're going to introduce our kids to classic music and scientific understanding and nothing too deep. But I remember it brought me back to the Magic School Bus. It
Oh
was
yeah.
kind of that this is fun, but we're going to get educated. And they did that with a lot of shows. And I love that now they've got shows like Bluey that's just for the parents to be able to
Yeah.
sit and let that play and not lose their mind and then also not be going through a constant, yes, that is the endometriosis. I don't remember endometriosis problem, and this is the disease it is. And yes, why are my kids learning about blood vessels and why do I have to talk about the bladder again? And because young Einstein's even Miss Frizzle kind of taught us those things, and our parents were kind of like, ew, why do you know what that is? It's a TV show, right? But Bluey's just fun.
Yeah.
Bluey's just the daily struggle and how every single time it's hilarious that they'll just fail. They fail so
Yeah.
many times and then they're back up and running. Like,
Well,
oh
they
yeah, but I'm a parent. I can handle this, even failure.
well, even talking about Magic School Bus, I mean, they recently just relaunched, I think, a couple seasons of it. Like they re kind of remastered it to with different a different voice, that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
my kids got into that, and then we had already been kind of watching some of the older episodes and things like that. And it was so funny because like there is that episode where he's talking about like like going small and getting into the body and going around, and I was like, oh, they animated the movie Inner Space. How awesome.
Yes, yes. All right. Throwback,
Yes.
throwback.
For those of you who don't know what Inner Space is, go look it up and watch it.
I, and I will say too that that was a delightful movie at the time. I don't know that I don't know that I'd watch it today. I might be embarrassed because just how just hilarity. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
Um,
It
but
was it was what it was. It was what it was for the time that it was made.
mhm.
Just with what,
And well
you
done.
could do with movies and things like that. But at the same time too, like what an interesting concept to like there were a lot of movies back in the day like that. Like inner space was all about like kind of what was going on inside the body. I thought the scene like where they actually like show that the one main character is pregnant, and that was really neat.
Hmm.
That was pretty cool. But then there's movies like Flatliners, where I don't know if you've ever seen that one or not, but it's like medical students who are
Hmm.
trying to experience what like death is like, and so they actually like go through the process of stopping their heart and like
Mm.
kind of journaling that actually I believe got remade a few years back too, if I'm not mistaken. Like there's a
Hmm.
whole new cast or whatever, but that movie was always interesting to me because it was sort of like a psycho thriller a little bit, the way they did
Oh
it.
yeah.
Because there's definitely something, if I remember, it's been a while, but I think it involves like the mental instability coming back, and there was something that was haunting them
Hmm.
because of the
I
experience.
I remember it being something about an exploration of the afterlife and what that might be, or
Yes.
something like that. And then there was
Yeah.
some supernatural element that came into it. I didn't see it. Just I'm not saying that I didn't want to or anything, but I just know I didn't see it for whatever reason. Probably children. I'll blame the kids. But it did look like you said, like a great thriller. Just a moment of, hey, you're gonna you're gonna kill yourself and you're gonna bring yourself back. Cool, cool, cool. I don't think this is the good thing. I think this is absolutely a bad thing. And I
Yeah.
can't imagine too. And I don't know about anybody that's actually had, that might be listening that has actual medical training and knows what they're talking about. But what you see in TVs and movies about how you give somebody CPR, how you bring them back to life or whatever, how you shock them and all that, none of that feels good. That's got to
Yeah.
be some of the most damage, especially because a lot of times if you're doing chest compressions, for CPR, you're going to break that person's ribs sometimes. I mean, you've
Oh
got to
yeah.
get in there where the heart is, and it's not, it's below the breastbone, right? So you got to get in there. I can't imagine how just beat up you would be. But they're college students, right? So they were
Yeah.
all kinds of, they don't get hurt. They
Exactly.
don't
I
notice.
I've always been a fan of medical show TV shows type stuff. Like I think like what put me on track of it was ER.
Hmm.
Um, that was a big one. There's so many like amazing, movie stars that came out of that show as
Hmm.
well. And actually, one of the guys from that show is now in a new medical show on HBO called The Pit, and he is like he's like in the ER there, and
Hmm.
it's very interesting to like see what's going on there because one of the episodes, and this really kind of, I guess, like to me, I didn't understand this, although you heard about it a lot during COVID, like people being intubated and what that was like, but no one ever really explains the full experience that the patient goes through with it. And
Yeah.
in this episode, it's like an older man and his kids are not ready to let him go, and the doctor's trying to explain to them like, one, the patient already has like a DNR on file, so do not resuscitate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like the kids have power of attorney, so they get the ability to actually override it. And so this doctor's
Hmm.
trying to explain like, if you do this choice to intubate him, like you are going to put him through serious amounts of pain because of everything involved in it. And I'm like, oh, I never really considered that. Like, oh,
Hmm.
like, like, is it, it's almost, I don't know, it seems selfish to be like, oh yeah, I want you to be around, although you're not really around because you're on this machine. And then on top of it too, like, I'm going to put you through pain and,
Hmm.
more than likely because you're older, you're not going to come out of this. And so like I just get to see you sit there and suffer versus like you passing and then like I can work on I can work on me and all that after the fact. Like it was very interesting like watching all that and being like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. But those are day-to-day
Hmm.
decisions and conversations that happen all the time in hospitals. And I just really appreciated the fact like that was probably one of the most raw conversations I've seen uh, in a medical show in a while.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a very interesting thing too. I'm old, so I can see the horizons of my life, as I like to say. So I know, and I'm very aware that we all are eventually going to pass away. I mean, you don't get out of this life alive, right? I mean, it's just where it is. So thinking about it, and I've been thinking about it since at least since 2020 about what would happen, DNRs and things like that, and power of attorney, and it's a very sobering part of it. But it is very important to understand what that person might be going through. Like you said, this is painful. This is even a little damaging. Nothing about medical care is gentle and fun. And to
Yeah.
make this is going to feel good. No, it's going to hurt, and then you're going to get better, and you're going to heal from it. So just about everything they do, and I can't imagine. I don't currently have a DNR. I had one going, and I'm still working on it because Marnie got mad because she didn't want me to have a DNR. And we haven't have gone back and had that conversation. But I'm not that. I don't know how to put it. When it's when my life is done, my life is done. I'm ready to see what's next.
Sure.
Even if it's nothing. Because I don't think no one can actually say what happens, but
There's definitely not a definitive yes.
yeah, there's no, this must be what it is. Yeah, okay. It's all really just conjecture, no matter how, whatever what you've learned, how you stand on it. So I don't want to be, kept on. If my brain is gone, you know,
Yeah.
get rid of it. Cut me up, take my organs, give them to people that'll be useful. Hopefully, I'll have one or two, that haven't been wrecked by
Yeah.
obesity or whatever, and then
Well,
move on.
well,
And I know,
I've even seen an episode in another medical show where it was like a rookie doctor basically like a resident, and they were so gun ho to not have anybody die on them their first day.
yeah.
And this person came in and they'd been, working on him for a while, and coding and all this stuff was going on. And like the main doctor, like I guess they give like choices like, hey, like do you want to continue? What do you want to do? Like, it's not like it's an automatic, like, all right, we're going to stop or whatever. Whoever I guess is like the actual, like on that person dealing with that patient gets to make the final choices or whatever. But there are others who are like, all right, like, here's the situation. What do you want to do? And this guy was like, we're going to keep going. And they ended up uh, getting the person to like get their heart started again, but they were brain dead.
Mm, yeah.
And so it was sort of one of these deals where like they were trying to tell him like, hey, like, if you continue on with this, like there's a lot of brain damage and things like that could happen. And then like basically they were just like, all right, like you just saved this person to basically have them, be using a machine just so that you can tell their parents like, hey, like I saved them. They're
Yeah.
here, but they're not really here.
Yeah.
And then also too to
Not.
be like they're not going to make it type of deal. And so
Mm. God,
that's a
that's rough, man.
right? That's another really tough one too,
This
because
is
it's like,
this is an awful show today. I'm just gonna say we went from RTX to Bing Bong to DNRs to man.
I didn't have anything.
Are we
Man.
projecting? Are we depressed? Is there something going? Brock, blink twice if you're okay. I think you're okay.
Just so you're all aware, like since you can't really see sometimes unless you're watching the YouTube portion, I'm like trying to like blink with two different eyes at the same time. It doesn't work. I can't do that. I don't have ambidextric eye blinking
Blink
abilities.
with both eyes. That's it.
I look like I just had a seizure. It was like screwed up.
Stop. Just do one. Just do one. Just stop. No, we'll go
Just
back.
do
Go
one.
back it up. Blink with one eye.
That takes a lot too. I gotta like
Right. Close one and go. I'm fine.
there's always a mouth that has to be open. And you're like, looks like I got caught by like a hook while fishing or something.
Fish hook.
Oh man. So I was thinking about the fact that here we are coming, into 2025. We're a few weeks into it, and we've talked a little bit about goals. We were talking too about you were talking about DNR. I was thinking about it just from like a sort of a things parents maybe overlook taking care of. And one of the things that I feel more and more that comes up in conversations is, do you have a will?
Mhm.
And it's a very serious topic, but
Do you know why it comes up more and more in conversations for you?
for me, because I'm getting old,
Because you're getting old. It's that gray. It's that gray in the beard.
it happens. It's okay. I'm okay with it.
But you're right.
Uh,
Didn't mean to derail you. Yeah.
no,
Well,
you're cool. But yeah, what basically, I guess my thing is like, I think that there's a point of, I don't know, I don't know if it's humility or what it is, but it's just this idea of like, all right, like, yeah, I probably should have something in place or whatever. And sometimes it's like, all right, well, is it going to be too expensive, too much time consuming, whatever it is.
mhm.
I've been finding more and more, especially with people who have like kind of those like upper tier jobs. Uh, they might not know this, but a lot of times your company actually has something built in through their legal department, a way
Mhm.
for you to actually get uh, that legal help to build that,
Mhm.
kind of deal. With Corey's job, that's the case, which is something that we're going to be taking advantage of this year, which is really cool. Her job actually made it to where you could, it's like I think it's like a paid thing. It's like very minimal, whatever it
Mhm.
is, to like have this like retainer, but you can also include your immediate family. So like my mom and dad and her mom and dad, we were able to put them on there so that
Cool.
we're like, all right, like you guys can go do this stuff too.
Yeah.
make
Nice.
make our lives just a little bit easier because
Yes.
because your parents definitely are getting up there in age.
hmm Right.
So,
Right. Well,
but yeah,
mine aren't, but yeah.
yeah.
Oh. Told you it's
This
a sad
I
episode,
know.
man.
This is gonna have a
Ah.
cautionary at the end of it. It's not an explicit, it's a cautionary. There's a
Rock
difference.
and Danny might might make you cry. It might just upset you until you make you turn the channel, so you have to go watch somebody else.
Welcome to episode 203, pulling on the heartstrings.
It's just all the sad, all the sad.
We'll get some big hair band music playing as well from the
And
80s.
Have you seen, since I'm just going to drop, we're going to bounce all over the place today.
We
So we'll go
are.
back to Will's in just a second, but for Artex, because we brought it up. So there is a kid, there have been children at the big or cosplay conventions, such and Dragon Con also as well, that they're wearing the kid from the Neverending Story, whose name I can't remember right now, Artex's
Uh,
master boss friend, Arlo,
Atreyu.
no, Atreyu. Excellent, well done.
Atreyu.
So
Yes.
they're dressed as him, and then they've got a fake horse head on the carpet, and they're like pulling on the reins of it, and I'm just like,
Yes.
oh wow, okay. They have those also to put in your potted plants. They're little ceramic ones, and
Oh my
it's a
God.
horse and Atreyu, and I'm like, okay, y'all, I I don't know why you think my childhood trauma is funny, but you need to stop making money off of it. So,
Well, with TikTok and everything else too, and Etsy, you can, make and sell things all the time.
yeah.
I've actually seen where people have printed 3D luck dragons,
Hmm.
and
Nice.
they've even there's even a stuffy out there actually that you can get that's
Yeah,
like 3 foot long. It's huge.
as there should be.
Which I'm
As
like,
there
at least you're, getting the sizing proportions right for a stuffed animal versus like a,
A little
full
figure.
size.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, oh,
Action
that's
figure.
crazy, dude. I know I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that kid with that setup, and I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Just ouch. Ouch. But back to wills, because that's less depressing, I think.
Is it?
Maybe. Maybe. But wills and life insurance. And like you said, it
Oh, life
becomes
insurance.
more and more obvious and apparent. And it's very important. Both are. I mean, and I think that really you should think about these things in your 20s. Like when you first get out on your own, you should have something in place. You're in your 20s, you're not going to worry about life insurance too much, but just in case, like some
Yeah.
kind of accident happens, to be prepared. But then when you get up into your 40s and in your 50s and then in your 60s, you should have these things in place already. And for me too, I don't have much. I wouldn't need much in the way of a will per se, because the will is going to be talking about anything that you own that has good monetary value, like your houses and your cars, and none of that stuff's going to be me. It's going to be Marnie's. I mean, I'm sure my name is on it, but it's not like I'm going to will it to somebody.
Yeah.
It'll be us doing it as a couple, or maybe even be her doing it. But like, I'm not as concerned about that. But the thing that I've noticed after my own mom and has passed away, and I've seen several people, unfortunately, of that age who've passed away and have left their kids with things. And this is unfortunate for anybody that's not going to be able to watch the video of it. But I'm going to just briefly turn off my background, because the reason I need a will and a determining document of what goes where is because this is my office, and every single shelf is covered with crap, some kind of crap. And some of it's great. I mean, some of it's amazing, and I love every bit of it. But the thing is looking at it, if I pass away and my kids come in here, they're going to go, okay, who gets Fabian's cow he made in high school, the little paper mache cow that he made.
Yeah.
I don't know. Can we throw it away? I don't know. Dad really loved it. And that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to have a little sticker on the back of it. No, no, chuck me unless you want to keep it. I have no more.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that kind of thing because my great grandmother, before she passed away, I was in my 20s, but when I was a teenager, I mean, she was just like, hey, like she was a widow. I think she kind of felt like at some point, like maybe she might die of a broken heart or whatever, but she was very active. But anytime that we were up at the house, she would say, if there's anything you see, write your name on the back of it.
Yeah.
And when I'm gone, it's yours.
Hmm.
And so I, I basically, I don't know why, but when I was younger, I was just always like, I only need like one thing from like each grandparent as like a remembrance. Like that's
Yeah.
really all. I don't want
Yeah.
a ton of clutter. And so like my great grandfather was in the Navy. And so
Hmm.
there's a very specific, like, it tells like humidity and temperature and something else.
Hmm.
And it's like on a wood plaque. and it's kind of the middle of it actually has sort of like like a steering column for like a ship type of deal. So
Hmm.
um, I got that, and then there was like this little green ceramic turtle that I'm pretty sure my grandmother actually made out of clay when she was maybe younger
Wow.
type of deal. Because
Yeah.
it's very handmade looking, not professional type of deal,
Uh-huh.
hand painted. And so like those are the two things I was like, that's what I want. And so when she passed away, and I was in college, so my mom and her siblings and her mom and dad were going through the house, like they were basically looking at everything. And so I had come home from college, and my mom was like, well, we cleared out great grandma's house, and we found these things with your name on them. And I was just like, oh, cool. And so like they
Nice.
they went with me to college. Like
Hmm.
I've taken them with me everywhere I've gone. And so like they're here in the house now,
Hmm.
like it's just, especially my great grandfather's, like that whole barometer basically is what it's called. Now I remember it, but is all like
Yes.
up
Yes.
there. So
Nice.
yeah,
That's very
I
cool.
think I think that that's smart, because
Hmm.
also too, like you can just write in the will, like every item in my house that has somebody's names on it's theirs. Like easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
an
we're
easy
done.
one line in a will.
Got the little round stickers on it with your name on it, like at a garage sale or something.
Color
25 cents,
coded.
25 cents. Yeah. Color coded, even better.
Color
Yes. Yes.
You're
Get,
red, you're yellow, you're blue.
yes. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Get organized in your death. Ooh, sad. But still, yeah. And I love that idea because like I have from my grandmother did not bake. She didn't cook much. She wasn't into that stuff, I guess. But she had a cookie jar that was a cast iron stove, basically. And it's not
Oh,
made of iron, but it looks like,
it's a
almost,
ceramic, but yeah,
yeah,
painted.
ceramic.
Yeah.
And it just looks like, a cast iron stove. And I don't know why, but I've always loved it. And sure enough, when she passed away, I mean, someone, I don't remember who, I don't know, it's such a blur when things like this happen, but someone said, yeah, by the way, this is yours.
Hmm.
Grandbetty said, this was yours. And it was such a cool thing for me,
Yeah.
and it was such an amazing moment of almost closure in a way, but also the realization that my grandmother did think about me, that she did consider me, that she did have me in her mind and in her heart, and that even when she passed away, she still loves me, and she still is giving and trying to take care of me in the way that grandmas do. And I got to say, I love that thing. I put it on the highest shelf that none of the cats or children can get to. And I placed it very specifically where it is. I mean, we'd take an earthquake for the thing to fall. Okay. There's no reason that thing should ever fall or get hurt because I want to keep that with me. That will probably, that's something I think I would, if I choose a mausoleum or something, I will put that in my treasure trove, in my coffin with me or whatever. That and my chainsaw. It's like, this is the things I'm taking with me. It's uh, grandma's stuff. But it's such a cool thing. And I look at stuff, and I am also the kind of person that I see something that I think that someone would like. I want to get it for them. I want to get
Yes.
it immediately. I want to send it to them like, hey, I was thinking of you, and here's this whatever this thing. And being able to do that with your kids is, in my opinion, going to really give them a lot because one, it's going to give them that memory that you do love them, even if you're not
Hmm.
with them anymore, and that you do care for them, like the little cookie jar does for me. But also, it makes it so much easier for them to get rid of stuff. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
because a lot
Well,
of the stuff that I have, nobody's going to want this crap. It's literally crap. I mean, it's just I've got I don't know one thing around. Okay, so I've got two bourbon sample bottles, empty, that are sitting on my desk. Now, why are they on my desk? Why didn't I recycle them? Why didn't I get rid of them? Because people that I love gave them to me with, they were full at the time, but they gave them to me as a sample of something that they enjoyed that they wanted me to enjoy. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, I don't want to get rid of that. It's just a sign that these good friends of mine are loving, amazing people. I don't want to get rid of it. But if I'm gone, yeah, you just need to shuffle those off into a box and just chuck them in the recycling. It's not These don't have any value to anyone other than me. And there's a lot of stuff like that, that I don't want my kids to have to worry about sorting through it and
Yeah.
thinking, oh, should I keep this? Dad loved this. Should I? Because you don't want to get rid of that stuff because your parents loved it. But honestly, that's a lot of trash and baggage that you got to carry to the next generation that I think is better off just to yoink. No, no, that's got a place. It's called the dump. That's where
You-
we're gonna take it.
Well, depending on how much D&D stuff you have at the end of life, you have a bunch of D&D crows that are going to swoop down and be like, ooh.
There's yeah, there's no problem having a place for all that. Yeah. It was, yeah. Because when we moved here, I got rid of almost all of my old stuff. Not any stuff that was of any sentimental or monetary value, but like stuff that I've had for a while that is very specific for a game that I'm never going to play again. Like first edition, second edition D&D. I will never play that again. I don't want to. I don't. I like the newer versions, right? And I'm like, okay, what should we do with this? And I talked to a guy at a local books, a game store, and he's like, I mean, I'll look through them, and if it's good stuff, we can definitely, consider it. But I've got this group that plays first edition. Would you be willing to just give it to them? And it was all gone in, I brought 4 boxes of old books, and he said, no, I don't have any left. It was within 2 days, everything was gone. And having some ability to again find that crap that you got in your life and give it to someone that's going to enjoy it and love it
Yeah.
again, I think that's a
Yeah.
good part of being a responsible adult, I
Well, and
guess.
you're passing that on to, the younger generation or just a new group of players to
Hmm.
get going. If they like, man, this is really expensive to get started, and someone's like, well, here, you can have all of my starter stuff
Bingo.
and go that route. I think that's a great way to kind of give back to the community that you're a part of. So that's
Hmm.
awesome, man. I you were talking about cookie jars, and I just this thing popped in my head, and I can't get it to go out. But in Aurora, Indiana, which is not far from here in Cincinnati, there's a little tiny like village that has all these little stores and stuff, and they have an entire store that is nothing but cookie jars. Like the
All
whole
right.
thing is full of tons and tons of cookie jars of all types of characters and different like vehicles and all that stuff. And it's a really neat store to just
Hmm.
walk around and basically hog tie your kids so that they can't touch anything.
Can't touch
uh,
anything.
yeah, exactly. I actually haven't taken the kids in there, but it's definitely a place that I want to go to. I think
Hmm.
that they would be fine now, but we've
They,
already had
they
our
probably would. Yeah.
broken situation take place. So at a hardware store, that was fun.
Ooh.
Luckily, it was just like a stone bird that was like really tiny, and
Yeah.
my kid dropped it and broke the tail, and I was just like, "Well, guess we're buying this," and
Yep. Guess that one's going with us.
took it home and super glued it back together. So,
Hmm.
but and then it sits there as a reminder of don't do that again. So they were like, "Can I have this now that you fixed it?" I'm like, "No, it's just gonna sit right here. You can just look at it so that when we leave the house, like it's out on the porch. So it's like when we leave the house, like you can look at it and be like, ah, I'm not gonna touch anything.
Not touching
This,
that
was-
one.
this
Yeah.
is a rememberal."
Nice, nice, nice reference, man. Well done.
Like
Well
that.
done. Yeah, I did. I do. I like that. I remember all because that's perfect because it is exactly what it is.
They can even
Hey,
give it a little squeeze if they need to just
remember
help.
remember that time you didn't keep yourself to yourself and a bird died? What?
Bird lost its tail.
It's close. It could have died.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of random things too, as so we I don't know about you, but is there just times when you're in a conversation and a alternate version of a song pops in your head or something like some sort of phrase and then you just like go into song about it? Like do you ever make up
Well, yes, I do
random
have
songs?
ADHD. Why do you ask?
Yes, there it is. That's me. Like Corey today was like, I don't want to work. And I was like, I don't want to work. No, I don't want to work. I don't want to work today.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course.
I just wonder how many people come up with random random
Hmm.
little things like that in their head, which like you said, it's an ADHD thing.
I think it is. And it might also be a parenting thing. It might be a dad thing. I'm not exactly sure where it comes from, but I know that other responsible adult parents in my life, in my house, don't do this. And they are absolutely not neurospicy. So
You think
I
it's just
think that
you
might
think
have
it's a
something to do with
dad
it.
thing, basically? Then
It might be, but I honestly think it is ADHD. I think it's just one of those things where your brain is just trying to connect stuff, and your brain doesn't like. Marnie will hear a song, and she can understand it can be sung in other ways and other words, but realistically, this is the song. What you're doing over here by changing the words is a joke or it's a parody or it's something, and she has a word for what that will be, but the actual song must be this, and it can
yeah.
only exist as that. Whereas I hear a song, and one, I don't really hear all the words. I'm not good at hearing the words at songs. I have to actually stop and really listen to them because I'll sing things. She's like, "That is not how that song goes." I'm like, it is in my head. She's like, "But no, but it doesn't. The word is this." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 for you." But I just, you know, I don't want to sing like if you hearken back to Friends, Tony Danza, the Elton John song,
Yes.
"Hold Me
Tiny
Closer,"
little
Tony
dancer.
Danza, yeah, instead of Tiny Dancer, and I'm like, yeah, that makes. Oh my God, it's Tiny Dancer, and
Yep.
because I never read the lyrics, I never saw the title of the song. I would just hear it come on, and I would, da, 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 hold me closer, Tony Danza. Yeah, it's perfect, right?
Well,
And
wasn't it like
Marty's
when
brain just kind of skips a track. She's like, I don't know what you just said, but we got to go back and fix that in your head. We got to make that song, right?
well,
Anyway,
that's what I was saying. Like back in the day, I believe there was a commercial when I think it was like either Siri was launched or maybe it was Shazam, like kind of was getting big. Like they were like a couple sitting in a car and they were debating the words to I think it was like pour some sugar on me or something like that, and just I forget what it was that he thought what the other guy thought it was, but yeah, like they had, like, oh, that's not what it is, like, and just a whole argument about it. So
hmm
I completely understand. I think for us though, like as adults that are, above 45 and up, we grew up with some of the greatest music ever, put out. That 70s, 80s, and 90s music was so like just I don't know, they're all very memorable. Like it just and there's so many different words to things when you're saying something that it's just like immediately a song pops into your head. So
hmm
very genius in that. But along with that too was the rise of Weird Al Yankovic and just the ability for him to just take that kind of stuff. And I
Yes.
actually, speaking of TikTok, I was watching where there was a comedian and he was talking about how when he grew up, his parents wouldn't let him listen to Metallica because he grew up in a Christian, very Christian, strict home.
hmm
And so he found this band, and it was so funny when he said it because I was like, oh, I know that band. It's a Christian band called Apologetics, and
All right.
all of their music sounds like the original bands, but the words have all been changed to be like around biblical things.
Yeah. All
So,
right. Yeah.
for instance, like he was like, so I couldn't listen to Metallica, so that means I couldn't listen to Enter Sandman, but I could listen to Apologetics, and they sing about Enter Samson, like. Just all these different ones.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: if you really want to mess with your kids a little bit with songs that sound similar than what they are, like look up on Spotify or you don't use Spotify. What is it that you use again?
Amazon Music.
Amazon Music. Although our podcast is through Spotify, but mainly
It's
that's what we
also
do.
available on Amazon Music.
It is
And the reason
available.
it's available on Amazon Music is because I asked you why isn't it available on Amazon Music, and you said I didn't click that button. That was the
Button.
only thing. Is we just got to click one more button, Brock? Then what's the problem? Why do you hate Amazon?
I,
Obviously, our AR overlords will come from Amazon.
they get plenty of my money, that's for sure.
They do, right? And
Amazon Prime.
I'm already like linked in. They have their hooks in me and my family way more than I'd like to admit.
Yeah. There was a charge that came on our like we got a message on our phone a few weeks ago that said like this amount of charge. It was like 100 and some crazy dollars or whatever. My wife was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, pretty sure that's the Amazon Prime membership for the year. And she's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to get rid of it? She's like, no.
No, no,
So
please
yeah,
don't.
but no, so yeah, on Amazon Music or Spotify or whatever, just look up Apologetics. And they have multiple different albums, but the songs, kid you not, like they are very good about having like very precise sounding uh instrumentals, and then they
Hmm.
try to match up like the just the audio with it as well, and they just change the words to it, but it all flows so well that if you're not listening to it closely enough, like you might not even like catch it. It's that good. Um, and so I remember when I was attending Cincinnati Christian University here in town, like that was one of the albums that I came across in somebody's room, and I was like, "This is great!" And I ended up buying like three or four of their CDs or whatever. Had them in the room and would put them in all the time. So but yeah, it was just funny hearing this comedian talk about like, yeah, my way around getting listening to Metallica was listening to this other group.
Apologetics. Yeah.
But yeah, but it's
Nice.
just, same thing like Weird Al. Like it just, you change words around and it makes this very iconic, song even more memorable just with different words.
Hmm. I want to recommend at least for one song, and there's only one song that I know that I really that someone showed me recently that is hilarious. The YouTube channel is called Andre Antunes, Antunes, right? Andre Antunes, and he did a metal version of Kenneth Copeland. And
Oh,
Kenneth Copeland is the evangelist. He's very, very passionate. He's like overly passionate sometimes, and other things. But that video of him, because it brings up in like the Andre, I assume Antunes is his name, I don't know, but Andre Antunes is sitting there with his kid like playing and whatever, and Kenneth Copeland comes on the background yelling Jabba Jabba, I cast you out or whatever, about I think it was about COVID, and it's just vehement, what is coming on, and the guy is trying to play with his kids, then he just gets so distracted by it, and then he creates this metal track
mm-hmm.
behind it, and then it starts to play Kenneth Copeland, and then you get the visuals on it, and it's just, I mean, it takes like probably takes a full minute to get going, so, but it just starts, it just rocks from that point out, and I'm like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Because again, those things in your head, like you said, like Weird Al Yankovic, like apologetics, like our own, way that we do it on ourselves, and start singing a song, but then add your own words to it or change your words and make it sound very, very, very similar,
Yeah.
or exactly what kind of method you want, like metal in this case. And it was hilarious, and I highly recommend it, at least for that song. You can take it any way that you want it. I don't appreciate Kenneth Copeland as a human being, so I'm okay with making fun of him. But
I get it.
there's also
Yep.
people that I absolutely love that I'm okay with making fun of. So that's maybe that's just something wrong with me.
Well, the other one I was thinking about was Disney classic songs, like Disney songs that people have turned metal.
Yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh, I'll tell you, there's like so many different bands out there that have just turned these classic songs into like really, really popular. I had introduced the kids to it a few years ago, and like Hezekiah, like they on the weekends they get to listen to music while they take showers or baths,
Mhm.
and he found the metal version of Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and kid, we all like to sing in the shower from time to time. This kid was rocking out in the shower. It
Mhm.
was awesome.
As you should. Everyone out there, don't be ashamed. You take that. You do that. I don't care what your voice sounds like. Do it. It's
Yeah.
good for you.
And he was definitely, it was like a screamo version. He's just getting into
Yeah.
it, man. I was like, wow. I was like, this is like the angry version of like supercalifragilistic. It's like, okay.
Nice.
But there's
Yeah.
so many good ones out there. And I know like Matt Lofi from the Dadass podcast, his oldest is, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. And I remember last year he was all excited because he was like, I'm taking him to my first ever or take him to his first ever concert, and it was a heavy metal band, and all the music was Disney music, and I was just like, "That's freaking
Nice.
awesome!"
I would love to. Yeah, I would love to experience that. That's great.
Yeah,
because I love Disney music, and I guess I kind of like metal. I'm realizing more and more I like metal.
metal's good, man.
Not death metal, not just scream at me. I have to have some harmony, some something in there. But
Yeah. Well,
in the sound of silence, right? And
oh,
doing it in a bass or low baritone, doing it in a lower tone where you really get into that it just somber maudlin expression of this song.
yep.
And I heard it the first time and I'm like, what is this? It's not. It's this song. It's like this should be bright and happy or something. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah,
This is
you heard the
not the
recreated
song.
you heard the new
Yeah.
remastered version by I forget who that was, it Hoobastank or something like that that did it. I don't remember exactly. There was definitely,
A
but we
lot
were
of people have done it. Yeah. So
yeah. Well, we were sitting here at the dinner table this week, and all of a sudden, I forget how it popped up, but basically we were talking about music, and one of the things was that song. Actually, I think it was, oh, I know what it was. I said hello darkness, my old friend, or something like that, and like it immediately, like Corey and I started kind of going back and forth with it, and we're like, we were telling the kids, we're like, it's a song, and they're like, what? So we pulled it up and had them listen to it, and then there was another song after that. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, so Corey's on the other side of the screen, mouthing things to me. She's like my cue card person.
it's not her conversation.
she, hey, she's working here at the house today, so that
You tell
happens.
her I said that.
But we brown eyed
Do not,
girl
in
is
fact. Yeah. Yeah.
it was another song, and so the kids were like, "Brown eyed girl, that's an actual song," and so we had them listen. That song is so accurate for for Corey and I. We were listening to it, we're like, "Whoa, I didn't realize that those lyrics were in that song. Like that matches up pretty well."
Yeah.
And
That's
then
delightful.
the other, I think we reason, oh, I know the reason this even got started was because the gentleman who wrote the song Celebration,
Hmm. Yeah.
celebrate
Yeah.
good times, come on. He was explaining in an interview where that song came from. And part of the bass line from it was a different song, and he flipped it backwards, like the rhythm for it. But the lyrics came from his inspiration of, he was reading the Bible
Hmm.
and was just like, oh man, like, yeah, celebration. Like he got into the song, and the whole song is actually an inspiration of celebrating God, like
Hmm.
his faith. And I was like, oh, I never really even considered that, because one of the things is like, there's a party going on around here, a
Hmm.
celebration, like across the generations and world type of thing. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it just kind of matches up with, a lot of what, people of faith believe, talking about the afterlife, like that's their thing. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's what he wrote about. I was like, oh, I never had thought that. So that we just kind of got on this whole tangent of like, it was like, all right, well, that was music theory for the night.
Hmm.
Hope you enjoyed your class 101 there, music theory.
Yeah. And it's very surprising how often you see stuff like that. There's a song that Bob Marley sings called Jammin'. And I think it was 84, maybe, when I first heard it. I heard it. A friend of mine were driving around. We were cruising. That's what we were doing. We were
Oh
cruising.
yeah,
And
cruising.
I was in fact the scrub hanging out the side of my best friend's ride, but I don't care. I didn't have my own car. And this song comes on and jamming comes on, and I love this song. It is, and I can't hear the words. Like I said earlier, it's difficult for me to define exactly what the words are saying, but I'm just like, we're jamming, we're jamming, we're jamming, and I'm just going with this. And it was maybe 2 years ago that I pulled it up and I wanted to listen to it, and I played it in the kitchen on our Echo, which is actually an Alexa screen, right? And it's
Hmm.
showing the lyrics, and it's talking about the Holy Messiah and Holy Mount Zion,
Yeah.
and that jamming is basically worship. And I'm just, my mind just breaks. I'm like, what? Because I never really heard the words, but I thought it was very, very cool to hear such a modern, not even modern at this point. I think it was written in the 70s, but a more modern than, the Christian hymns, perhaps, version of
Yeah.
a song where, much like what you just mentioned, where someone comes in and reads this or feels this or hears this and puts it into a song that is so fun and palatable and enjoyable, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a lot of what you you don't get, unfortunately, with a lot of. I gotta just say, there's like two songs in the Catholic Church that are fun, and there's a lot of songs in the Catholic Church that just don't play well. Just
Right.
don't. Just like the notes are off. So what are we doing here? But again, that's not what they were doing it for. They were doing it to entertain you. So I love that exists. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I like in the summertime, or in the springtime, it's like that first warm day. You're like, oh, the windows go down and the music goes up. And you're
Yeah.
driving around or whatever. I had a very awkward experience with a police officer.
Hmm.
I was listening to a Bob Marley song. I
Okay.
shot the sheriff. Rolled up beside a cop. I'm like,
I'm just
okay,
gonna
turn that down.
doobie doo, drop that down to a 4. Yeah.
And I like looked over at him and I was just like, hi.
Things fine here, sir.
He was laughing. It was pretty good. Oh, but yeah, just good times with music. What can you say?
Hmm. And that's good. It's we brought it up to an up note on the end here, so we don't we're not sad the whole episode. That's great.
Well, hey, we talked movies last time, so figure get into some fun
Yeah.
music time.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if you know this, but I don't come into the podcast with a plan.
Well, I very rarely do come into the podcast with a plan. I feel like that only happens when we have a guest, or we all of a sudden have this like
There-
bing moment.
Well, like last week, I wanted to talk about that movie with you. I really did. I thought it was amazing. Night Bitch is just fantastic in so many ways, and I really, really wanted to share that both with you and then just with our listeners and what have you. But other than that, most episodes are like this. It's like, what are we thinking about this week? Oh, about this, and then there we go. So
That's how it works. So cool. Well, fun conversation. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens next week. But until then, y'all have a great one.
good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.